Today I'm going to show you how to part the hair, how to trim the hair, and make sure the hair lays nicely while giving him a clean taper. So let's get to it. So to start off this cut, what I did was separated the top from the sides, and all I did was start in the crown and move towards its corners, separating it where it naturally wanted to split. And now what we're going to do is build our foundation for the scissor cut. So I'm going all the way around the head, starting in the back, and I'm just giving myself a stopping point for where I want the highest place where I use my clippers to be. And then we're going to build all our scissor work on top of it. And what this does for me is give me peace of mind knowing that I'm not taking up the clipper too high to the point where it's like giving the haircut an unbalanced look and cutting into the bulk that we want to have. So I'm just doing that all the way around the head. So as you can see, I'm dampening the hair once again, and as you can see, the lines start to form. So I'm putting my fingers straight against the head and cutting to that, because what I'm going to be doing is lowering down the sides to a 3, and the 3 should blend right into that guideline that we create. Now we comb that into the top, and as you can see, it's already giving us a nice transition. Now we're going to follow it to the other side. And the reason I like to trim the top first is because it gives me a finished product to blend into. And for me, when I learned how to cut with scissors, it was my most challenging point. So I wanted to make sure that I'm not saving it for the end of the cut where I have to rush, and I want to spend my time and figure out exactly what I'm doing. So I went ahead and knocked it out at the beginning, and then we'll do the fade, which for me was the easiest part. So we're establishing our weight around the sides here. You see I'm going back the opposite direction of which I set it, just to make sure that everything is consistent. And now what we're gonna do is split the top down the middle, and you can use the middle of his eyebrow as a reference point for the middle of the hair. And what you're gonna see me do is dampen the hair once again, and instead of bringing all that hair down to the guideline I already cut, I'm going to pull the hair kind of straight off of the head and trim it like that. So as you can see, this is the point where I can see the guideline right under. And what I'm doing is building that weight, building that graduation. So that way when we do our fade, we don't have all this hair overlapping it either. So I'm coming and I'm pulling straight off of the head. And as I get to the front, because I want to keep some fringe, I'm kind of flaring off the shape of his head here. And that helps me preserve some length up towards the front without cutting it too short. Now I'm going back and cross-checking, and as you can see, when I comb it forward, it just blends very nicely, allows the hair to lay. Now we're going to do the same thing on the other side, pulling the hair directly off of the head. Straight off. I'm not pulling it down or over-directing to the guideline we cut. I'm coming straight off. Now we're flaring it out just a little bit longer towards the front, because again, we want to keep that length. And now we're going to comb that all forward. And now, since we already cut the sides, it's going to be very easy to trim the top. But what I'm going to do first is trim the fringe. So for the fringe, he wanted it like towards the middle of his eyebrow. So what I'm going to do is just point cut the front. And I don't want to do it too blunt, because I don't want the hair to give off like helmet vibes, right? I want it to be a softer fringe, more natural looking. So we're just trimming it to the length that he wanted. And the system that I'm using right now, and I just looked at my finger because I think I cut it, which eventually it did, because it started bleeding, so you'll see me put on a band-aid. But the system I'm using of cutting is the DFS formula by Barber Josh OP, which I'm still learning, so I'm not perfect at it. So what we're going to do is start in the back, and we're going to create 3 sections on the top per usual, 1 on the left, 1 on the right, and 1 in the middle. And now our middle guideline, what we're going to use as the length we need to take off is the fringe that we already cut. As you can see, it's way shorter than the rest, and I'm going to point cut the length that we established in the front, moving all the way back. And we already know that the weight along the parietal ridge was established when we did our initial cuts. We established the length in the front of the fringe, and now we're using all of those guidelines to go ahead and match the top to it. And I really noticed during this haircut that my shears are very dull, so I'm gonna have to go get them sharpened So I have to go over the hair a few times to make sure that it is truly even. But again, we are point cutting, so it doesn't have to be perfect, but we don't want any drastically uneven hairs, right? So now after we establish that middle guideline, we'll comb it over to the right, and then we're gonna use that guideline to trim the right side of his head. So as you can see, when I pull up, you can see the inside of my finger is that middle guideline, and I'm point cutting everything to that length that we already established. And you'll see when I get to the round of his head, they call it the parietal ridge, I'm going straight across. I'm not dipping down at a circular angle because I want the top to have a more square look. This is what I'm talking about right here. I'm pulling up the hair straight off of the top of the head. I'm not angling it to the side because I want to have a more squared look. So now after we did that, we're going to reestablish that middle guideline again and comb it over towards his left and do the same exact thing. So boom, there's our middle guideline, and then we'll bring everything to that length. Super clean, super consistent, very balanced and even haircut. Right there, you can see my shears are very dull, so I gotta go get them sharpened. So we're just point cutting straight across. We're doing that all the way back. So now we're getting to the round of the head, and as you can see, straight off of the head up. We're not angling it to the side in any way because again, we want to keep that weight on the parietal ridge. We don't want to give him that triangle or faux hawk look. Now we'll comb it all forward. And now what I'm going to do is just cross check one more time to make sure that I got all those hairs that might fray out, as you can see. And again, this is we're point cutting here, so I'm just making sure that you know, we have it pretty even. It's not going to be perfect because the unevenness is what causes that texture, but we don't want any, you know, drastic unevenness in the hair. And now, since we already trimmed the top, all we have to worry about is doing the bottom and blending in that middle section to the sides. So at this point in the haircut, I'm feeling pretty good. It's coming out exactly how I want. And now we're not going to go ahead and blow dry the hair. We're just going to leave it damp, and we're going to use our 3-guard and bring it all the way up to that line that we established at the beginning. And this gives us a great stopping point for where we want our 3-guard, you know, to be the highest. So super simple, super easy here. And this is just going to allow us to keep that weight that we wanted, which is perfect. Definitely recommend, if you guys are working with a lot of bulk especially, to use this system of cutting. Now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. We have our 3-guard and we're bringing it all the way up to that line. And you'll see I'm using my comb kind of like as a stopping point, so I don't risk taking that 3-guard any higher. So I'm coming up with that 3, and then I'm going against it with my comb. And we're stopping right where we established that line. And you can kind of already see the shape the haircut is going to take just by looking at the back. And I'm feeling pretty good here. So what we're going to do before we blend in that middle section is do our taper. So I'm using my trimmer here to establish my bald line a little below the bottom of the ear. And then we're going to flip that trimmer around and bald out the bottom. And in this video, we really do get my man together. He came in with lots of hair. A pretty unbalanced look, but today I think we set everything in place and he's gonna leave looking super brand new. So we're just continuing to bald out the bottom here, get rid of all those little peach fuzz. And if you guys are finding any value in this so far, Be sure to stay tuned for my online academy that will be dropping soon. And if you guys would like to sign up and be notified when it drops, go ahead and hit that link in the description. It says Dre Clipper Hands Academy. And as soon as the academy is available, where we go way more in depth on how to cut hair and answer the questions that you guys, need answers to, I'm going to be bringing tons of value. So go ahead and enter your email in that link and you will be the first notified when the academy drops. Again, Dre Clipper Hands Academy coming soon. Now, after we establish our bald lines, we're coming in with our shaver to get it closer to the skin and really make that taper pop. And all I did for the side taper to establish my bald line is go to the end of the eyebrow and where the ear connects to the head. And that'll be where we establish our bald line, and we'll shave everything under right off. So the foundation of our haircut is already looking good, from the shape in the crown, on the sides, to the 3, to the bald line. I can tell if we fade everything right that the silhouette is going to be perfect. So again, I'm using my shaver to bald out the bottom again. Now we're coming in with our lever all the way open, and then we're going to go up about a finger's width. And all that means is put your finger at the top of that bald line, and you want to make this lever open the width of your finger. Now we're going to close it, and then we'll open up the lever little by little until we are fully open, and that should have gotten rid of that line. Now what's here when it's short is very light, so this taper was pretty easy. It all kind of blends together. Now we're coming in with our 1 guard open, still going up about that finger's width. And we're giving it kind of that burst shape, that round shape, so we can go ahead and keep the edges dark. Now I went ahead and closed that 1 guard to lighten up the line in between. Now to fully get rid of it, I'm coming in with my 1/2 guard halfway, and then I open it a little bit more. Now we're going to move on to our 1.5 all the way open, and this should be the last guard that we use for this taper. It should blend right into that 3. So I came in open, and then I'll close it as needed until we get it fully blended. And I'm taking the 1.5 a little behind the ear, because as you can see, it's slightly darker there because of how the hair grows. It kind of bunches up and grows backwards. And now what we're going to do to frame out the taper is line up the arch. So for the arch, you want to start at the top and then go to the bottom and meet those 2 points in the middle. And that'll give us a nice outline of his arch. And especially with blonde hair, if you're getting lost in the taper, a good thing to do is line up the arch first, because it'll make it look a little darker and be more organized with where you are. Now we're doing the taper on the other side, and we're going to follow the same exact system. We're going to come in lever open first and then get rid of that line. Now we're going to grab our 1 guard and do the same exact thing, going up just slightly higher. This side was a little more challenging to taper, so I'm going to spend a little more time on this side just because I feel like there was slightly more dark spots, and I think it has to do with the direction in which his hair was growing, so we had to combat that. And now we're just 1 close, lighten up that line in between, and then again the biggest guard we use is our 1.5 open. And little by little this cut is starting to come together. Lighten up behind the ear just slightly. So I guess on this side I used the 2 guard open to go ahead and lighten up around his arch just a little bit more. I don't feel like I took the 3 guard high enough, so that's what I'm doing right here. And now what we're going to do is line up his arch as well, starting at the top and then going to the bottom and meeting those 2 points in the middle. And as you can see, that line is looking super sharp. It really makes the taper pop. And now we're going to do the neck taper, and for the neck taper it's the same exact system that we did on the sides, except what you want to do is be sure to stretch out the taper a little more because you have a greater surface area to work with. And as well as on the neck, there's a lot more indentations due to the bones that are back there, so we also have to be sure that we spend a little more time detailing as well. And now to get rid of the line in between, we're coming in close and opening up that lever little by little until we get this line completely blended. But as you can see, because of the color of his hair, that line is pretty much out. So what we're going to do is we're going to move on to our one guard open here in a few moments. So we have our one guard open and we're going to go up just slightly higher. And we're going straight across. We're not giving it any curve or arch. Because of the shape of the neck, a lot of times there's no reason to curve or arch the shape of the guidelines. I know a lot of people like to do that, but I feel like it leaves the lines on the nape area too dark. And for me personally, I don't like that line to be too dark. I like the bottom of it to be blended and the part that goes around the ear to be dark enough, but I don't want it to go all the way down to the bottom of the neck, because again, I feel like that makes the taper grow back too quick and it doesn't grow back the nicest either. So now we're with our 1.5 and this should blend right into that 3 guard. So we opened it all the way and that should finish up the top of the taper. And now to get rid of the last line of this taper, we're going to come in with our half guard open and then we'll go ahead and close that lever little by little, and that should pretty much end off this neck taper. But as you can see, the taper with the silhouette of where we stopped with the 3 guard, once we put the line on the nape and clipper over comb into that weight, this cut is really going to come together. So right now I'm starting at the bottom of the nape and then I'm going to go to the top and connect those 2 points in the middle, and that is going to frame this out very nicely. And I'm being sure behind the ear to not take this line up too high, because that's something they call white walling. I didn't know that for the longest. I just knew you didn't want to give somebody a high line above the ear, so I'm being sure to keep that as low as possible. And as you can see, once we put the line on that, the taper is looking super crazy. So what we're going to do is do the same thing to the other side, and we're going to start at the top of the ear and work our way down. And little by little, step by step, this haircut is coming together. It's all about having a system and a process that you are able to follow, and what that allows you to do is have peace of mind, knowing that when you get to the end result, it should pretty much all come together except for a few details. So that's why I encourage, if you are starting to cut hair, just find a system that you are comfortable with. Even if it's not the same as somebody you watch, you want to do whatever feels most comfortable to you and perfect it. And then at some point when you feel like you got that down, then you can pivot and try something else. But at first, you want to find a system and be the best you can at it. So now we're coming in with clipper over comb. So I'm coming in with that comb and flaring out slightly, and that should pretty much blend right into that bulk. So as you can see, I'm going to do it here on the other side. And I'm being sure to not put this comb flat against the head, because again, we took this down to a 3, not like a 1. If this was a 1, you could put that flat against the head, but since it is a 3, you want to make sure that the bottom of the comb is pretty much level with where the top of that 3 guard was at. And then any hair sticking out, we're going to go ahead and get rid of. And as you can see, it's not perfect. It looks choppy with clipper over comb, but we are going to follow it up with some thinning shear over comb, and that'll soften everything up and make it blend a lot nicer. Now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. And now, like I said, to soften everything up, we're going to do some scissor over comb. And same idea, I'm coming in with my comb, and any hair sticking out, we're going to go ahead and get rid of. And you could use normal shears here, but for me, since I'm not taking off too much hair, I just want to soften everything up. I wanted to use thinning shears because what that does is allow you to keep the weight or the shade of darkness without patching, right? So I definitely suggest thinning shears. And now what we're going to do is dry the hair fully. And as you can see, even before it's dry, the taper with the sides and the top all blends very nicely. So I started in the crown, and now I put an airflow channeler on the blow dryer, and I'm going to blow dry the hair forward. And you'll see with the vent brush, I'm lifting the hair off of the scalp to go ahead and add some volume because I don't want it to be flat. I really want to bring out the texture that we created with our shear work. And the cool thing about this hairstyle is my client likes to flip up the hair in the front. But in this case, I wanted to style it forward. I feel like it complemented his head shape better. But he has the option as well as a normal day basis to flip his hair up and the haircut will still look nice. So we're using the diffuser to blow dry the front. So that way we're not causing too much frizz. We want to make that texture, you know, really stand out. And this haircut is looking super fire so far. Once we put the finishing style on there, it's really going to come together. So I'm using a clay and a texturizing powder to finish it off. And as you can see, the texture came out crazy. But this is how he came in looking, and this is how he left leaving. I think we transformed my man's life. And if this video helped you in any way, shape, or form, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. But while you're at it, go ahead and watch this commercial for me. What up, Will?
What up, Dre?
What's
going on, man?
Good, good. Hey, what up, Zay? Alright, bro. I'm ready for you. Man, Zay, you alright, bro?
I just ain't feeling it, bro.
Don't worry, bro. I got something for you. Check this out.
What's this supposed to do for me?
Bro, trust me. Just put it on. Man, bro, so how you feel?
I ain't gonna lie, I feel good. I'm ready to cut.
Go ahead and take this walk in.
Let's get it.
I see that shirt you got on, man.
Yeah, man. I was having a rough day, but definitely switched the mood up.
All right, then.
Dang, Zay, that haircut fire, bro.
Thank you, bro.
So how'd it feel?
Man, felt amazing.
Yeah, you know I got you, man.
Yes, sir.
Hey, bro. Can I get one of those?